Nothing can stop me. No. 'Cause I'm addicted to what you and I realize. Lead the way, I follow. No need to say where we are heading now, babe. I follow to the edge of it all. So tell you good night, 'cause I'll find a better one, yeah. Susceptible now, before the moment flies, before it flies. So tell you good night, 'cause I'll find a better one. Susceptible now, before the moment flies.
What's up, guys? I'm Rob, and I'm the vet.
Hey, this is Murph, and I wish I were on vacation.
What's up, guys? It's Shay. I'm the girl. I'm the 15-monther now.
Yeah, you're not a noob.
I'm not. I know that's why it felt weird to say it.
Really.
You gotta.
Don't say it. Just don't. Don't say it anymore.
We gotta
It's not
change
you
it all
anymore.
up. Yeah.
Yeah, that gotta change everything.
Our intro.
Yeah? All right.
I think
You
it's
write
fine.
my name. I think next show, you write what I say. I write what Murph says. Murph writes what you say. I think we'll be
Perfect.
good. Nothing can go wrong with that. Right?
And you don't. We'll write it. We'll write it like in a secret note, and you can't open it or look at it until like you go to say it, or like we put it in the chat section. Like you have to say it.
Like an
this.
award ceremony. You don't open
Hey,
it
no,
up.
we'll send it to Elise, Mary, and Dylan,
You don't
and they have to write it down and slide it on a card.
There you
And
go.
we can't look at it until shoot. That's not a good idea.
That's a great idea.
I think it's a great. Do you
idea.
trust me though?
Oh,
That's the question. Do you
no.
guys trust me? No, I wouldn't either. Wow. Thanks guys for joining us on another episode
Wow.
of the Waiting Table Podcast, where we have roundtable discussions about the hottest topics in weight loss with, of course, the coolest people from the bariatric community. I'm Rob. This is Murph. We got Shay, and of course, we got you guys. So grab a chair, wind down from your busy day or your vacation day or wherever else you might be, and take a seat at the table. Shay, it's been a while. How's it going?
It's going well. It's going well. I've missed you guys, believe it or not. I really
no.
missed seeing you both. Silent.
Believe it or
Thanks.
not, I don't believe it. I don't believe
You
it.
guys are just in shock that I would
It's
even
been
say
it's been a week.
that.
No, it's on repeat too.
No, I
It's
believe it. I
looping.
missed you guys too. The music?
We're a little rusty. I feel like
Yeah.
it's been hard getting back into
What
the
is
swing of
going
things.
on?
I'm doing everything.
I
You
know,
just get
eh?
used to it, you know?
Yeah, and technology and all that stuff.
Right.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, so it's been a while. So
All right.
our
here we
summer
go.
schedule has been out, and this is episode 1 of our summer schedule, which has been good. We've had a bit of a break. We've had a bit of time to sort of enjoy our own free time and ourselves and our family and all that. And of course, now we get to come back to you guys for a couple episodes for the rest of the summer. And yeah, this is episode 1, so I'm excited. I know I was sort of thinking about this all week, and this is a very, very cool episode to start back up on. Murph, you want to let us know what's going on tonight?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I'm super excited. I got as you guys know, I started this new position as an ER tech, ED tech, but Rob likes to not erectile dysfunction. It's a new department. Started this new position, this whole new life. It has been amazing, and I'm just having the greatest opportunities of meeting new people, especially the people that I work with, and developing these friendships, and we just we just kind of have these roundtable discussions at the nurses station, and we're talking about some things, and got to hear Deb's story. And I said, you know what, we have got to have you on the show. She's truly an inspiration, and I've learned so much from her just in the past few weeks that we've been talking back and forth. So I don't want to take any more time to introduce her. Deb Green, come on up and join us. Sit at the table, pull up a chair. If you're still with us and haven't
I'm still here. I
back out.
had a little bit of technical difficulties with my MacBook and everything.
Oh, welcome to the waiting table then.
Thank
Because
you.
that is our
It's been a
slogan.
weird
Technical.
technique. I just want
Hey,
to throw
yeah,
that
you're in
out
the right place.
tonight.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for having me. I
Yeah,
appreciate every one of
it's
you.
weird. Thank you.
I think Murph is delayed
Thanks
a
for
little
being
bit.
here. And
Sorry.
yeah, we've got a storm rolling through. Maybe that's it. I don't know what's going on, but we're just gonna keep rolling with it, I
Yeah, man.
guess. And so Deb, I tried teeing you up as best I could. And from here, why don't you go ahead and just tell us about yourself, just your family life, what you got going on, and just introduce yourself real quick.
Yeah, so I'm Deb. I'm from Michigan, born and raised, born in Lansing. I'm 27 years old. I thought I wanted to be a chemical environmental engineer for a little while and started doing prereqs for that and realized that calculus and math is really hard. So then I went back and I was like, I should have just gotten into healthcare or something, because I have a little niche for the human body and things. So I went back to nursing school at Lansing Community College and graduated this December. So I am a new graduate nurse. And
Congratulations. That's a lot of
Yeah,
work.
that's awesome.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
sure.
Thank you. It was 2 years too long.
Congrats.
And I, right before nursing school, I had my daughter, Violet, with Michigan married boyfriend. We've been together for 13 years. And now I'm here.
That's awesome. Well, we're so glad
Awesome.
you're here. And man, but it sounds like it's been a whirlwind couple of years, having a baby, going to nursing school, all of that. And I know Murph has told us just a little bit kind of about just your journey with bariatric surgery and stuff with that. Do you want to tell us a little bit more about that?
Yeah. So, I struggled with binge eating. I kept myself relatively healthy. I was a very small bariatric patient. In fact, I didn't qualify my first round. I was a 39 BMI. So I could not qualify because I have no health issues. But my entire life, my whole family is big. My dad's 6'6", 400 pounds. He's had the bariatric surgery. My mom's had bariatric surgery. And we all just struggle with going on autopilot and just eating. And turns out that that's a bigger problem than what I thought it was. I thought it was just autopilot, but it's probably a deeper set problem of malcoping that I was dealing with. So I went in, tried to get qualified at in Lansing for the bariatric program, and they denied me. And then I kind of just focused a little bit on my weight, and then I lost 50 pounds, and then I gained 30 back. Then I went back in and I said, I definitely qualify now. My BMI was 41. That was about 6 months after, in 2020. I tried in the later end of 2019 and then the pandemic and everything. But so on December 15th, 2020, my insurance required me 6 months. So 6 months ahead of time, I lost 10 pounds. Is what their requirement was. I had Dr. Obenwani in Lansing, Sparrow Bariatrics, and he did my surgery December 15th, and the weight just started coming off, and I had never felt that great in the first month. In fact, I lost like over half of what I needed to lose because I was a small bariatric patient. I was 266 pounds, and I'm 5'8". So within the first month, I was down to like 220. And I just continued on, and I got down to 164, and I felt like a bag of bones about 6 months later. And then I started weightlifting and training, and now I'm back up to 185, 190 range. And I'm happy where I'm at right now.
That's amazing. Wow. What's interesting
Very
too
cool.
is you said that your parents had bariatric surgery too. That's kind of unique. Was that helpful? Like, because you kind of knew what to expect more, or what was that like with your family?
Yeah, my dad was the trailblazer. He had his surgery in 2017 in Grand Rapids, and my dad struggled with binge eating too, really bad. And I mean, being this far out, he's still doing very well. He's maintaining his weight. He's not gaining. He's not losing. And my mom, she also had binge eating and then alcoholism too. So the alcoholism scared me a little bit with the bariatric surgery, but she had hers done in 2019 through Dr. Lane, through the Sparrow Bariatrics, and she's been doing really well too.
That's awesome. Congratulations. So a lot of times, as we've sort of experienced, there is a lot of learned behavior in regards to being obese, right? I know for me, it's a very cultural thing in regards to the way my parents raised me, and my relationship with food was very much coming from an immigrant standpoint of, oh, you never waste food. It was a lot of work to get the money for this food. You never waste. You always eat everything on your plate. It was always about, we're providing for you, and you keep eating. And so now that you had bariatric surgery, now that your father and your mother have had that bariatric surgery, have you seen sort of a break in regards to sort of that connection maybe to, or that relationship with food, or with some of the things that might have led you down this path, or maybe everyone down this path? Because it is very much a learned behavior, right?
Yeah, it was very hard at first because I found myself going over to my parents' house and going like, where's all the food? Like, where's the snacks? There's stuff supposed to be laying around, and we all just couldn't eat it anymore. It was very weird.
And is this something that sort of you guys rely on each other and lean on each other for support in regards to this? Because having, I know with Murph and myself, the reason we initially started this podcast was because we didn't really have anyone to go to in regards to support. And I know for us, it was also a male thing, right? It was hard to find males who had gone through this that were willing to share that. I have some random girl in the background. But, being able to have family members, for example, was that something that was very helpful for you guys? Probably not even just for yourself, but maybe for all of you guys?
It was definitely helpful learning from, and especially we all had the same surgery, but just learning how much we relied on food for like talking and behaviors and everything. It was crazy how all of us depended differently on food. My mom, she didn't depend at all on food. It was very weird before she had children, and then after she had children, she's leaned on food. So we all had to unlearn a lot of bad behaviors. For
sure. And how has that been going for you in regards to, because we oftentimes talk about the whole, well, I know for me, it's often how versatile and flexible you've become after your surgery in regards to being able to adapt to some of the different changes. How has that challenge been for you?
It felt at first like I was naked, like someone ripped the sheet right off of me. Because if I tried to even sip more water than I was allowed, I would throw it up. So that really sucked because I didn't know how tight my restriction is, and now I'm 3 years out, and I can eat a lot more, and I can drink a lot more. I can chug water now when I couldn't chug water before.
Yep.
So that is a very scary feeling, knowing that I'm capable of pretty much eating whatever I did before, but I just can eat a little bit less.
So I imagine, around the dinner table, Deb, you and your mom and your dad, are you guys challenging each other in a sense, or like, do you, hold each other accountable? Like, in my family, I'm the only one that's had the surgery outside of Rob and Shay. I don't really talk to anybody else about my, personal life or my surgery, and things. I talk a lot about stuff on here, but, and now I have Deb, and I'm probably talking her ear off at work a little too much and asking her, hey, does that have protein in it, or how much protein does that have? And, maybe it's kind of annoying. Do you find that is the case with like your family members? Do you guys talk about, little trade secrets about, protein tips and things like that?
Oh yeah, especially my mom, because my mom has lost a lot more weight than the rest of us and has really struggled to put back on muscle. So she's always talking about protein this, protein that, trying to get protein shakes in. My dad, he's kind of disappointed because at one point he was feeling like he was stretching out his pouch, I think 2 years ago. And he put on a little bit of weight too, but no, for the most part, we don't compete anymore. We aren't like, oh, who's losing the most weight? We're all in maintenance mode. So no competition anymore.
That's cool. That's cool. That's a really interesting like family dynamic to have, though. Not most families can say that. I know Shay, your mother-in-law. She had surgery. We had her on the show, but it's just really neat. I don't have anybody in my family that's had the surgery, so it's just kind of interesting.
Yeah, it's nice. Well, for me, having my mother-in-law have the surgery, I can't imagine what it would be like having immediate family, like my parents and stuff. I've been trying to talk with my dad because I think it actually would be helpful for him. But that would be kind of a cool dynamic. But I also could see it being kind of a challenging one too, where like that competition thing could probably come in, or like telling each other. Again, this is just talking about my family dynamics. I don't know if this is yours. I'm just putting myself in that position of like, I could see like me if my dad had got the surgery done, going like, oh, like, should you really be eating that? Or like vice versa.
Yeah.
A little weird. Do you guys find that to be the case, or not really so much? Because with my mother-in-law, it's not that way. But yeah, just curious.
I don't think so. If for the family members outside of the bariatric surgery, like so my other siblings and my grandparents and things like that, they definitely, now that they know you had the surgery, they question what you should and shouldn't eat. But my parents had my dad went through a different program, but my mom went through the same program as me, so she had a very good understanding of what I should and shouldn't eat. So in that regard, we were very supportive. I found that my outside family members who hadn't had the surgery were very judgmental.
Yeah.
In general, that I had the surgery because I was, I couldn't do it the natural way. And they were a little bit more judgmental if I was drinking a protein shake and not eating a real meal.
Yeah, that's a challenge that a lot of people share with us on the show. And I think in our community that's something that a lot of people do come across. And it's tough because it's learning how to navigate those relationships and their understanding, because not everyone understands the challenges that we have had to go through as obese people. And I think that was one of the biggest things that I've learned, not just through connecting with so many people in our community, but working with our team at where I peer mentor. I had a discussion with them, and I was doing an interview for public affairs there, and I was telling my story, as I've seen through the community, through the people, the guests we've had, through other people who I've shared stories with. And I was talking about a lot of the commonalities between us, that, you think you're going through it alone and you're the only one who is feeling this. And then you hear from all these people that they've had the same feelings, same issues, the same challenges. And a lot of people have not even considered those things because they've never had to live it. They've never had to walk a mile in our shoes. So they don't understand how big of a deal a lot of these things are. So definitely I could see that being a challenge for a lot of people, for sure. I do have a question for you. So you had talked about, being 3 years out. I'm pretty much 3 years out as well. And so I too can pretty much eat anything I want. And when I say, a little bit smaller, I'm pretty sure I can, for certain things, I can keep up to where Rob was prior to surgery. Um, how do you manage that? I know that there's like I have specific ways that I manage it. I know a lot of it is sort of you spent 3 years learning this is what life is now at this point, but there's always that little thing in your head that's sort of like I can go back and do whatever I did before, right? So how do you deal with that?
I mean, I can and I have gone back. I have gained weight. There have been time periods where I'm like, man, I'm just all day grazing. And I've found now that I know the problem behind it versus like, why am I just eating all day and then I'll restrict tomorrow. It's like I've had a really stressful day, like, and I'm not handling it. So it's been really hard to learn where the root cause of the problem is versus like just punishing myself. Because there's definitely meals that I can put away, like I did before, and there's definitely meals that I do save that type of things, like,
Yeah.
the fair's coming up. I might go get like a funnel cake and eat like a little nibble of it. But there's definitely meals where I do say I can eat it. I'm not going to overindulge, but if I don't include things that, especially sweets are my kryptonite. If I don't include those in my diet, I will binge.
Right.
So I've had to find a weird balance of like, yeah, I might not make the best choice, but I'm also in a caloric, I'm fitting it somewhere in my calories.
Yeah.
And I don't know, it's a very scary feeling knowing that I could easily reverse all my problems, or my successes.
Yeah.
So I definitely try to think about like how I'm feeling. And usually it's I'm stressed out. And if I can undo that stress somehow and go for a run or take my daughter for a walk or, actually really think about why I'm stressed and try to resolve that, I usually can get out of the binge.
Nice. That's good. I think that's awesome because go ahead. Sorry. Go ahead.
Sorry. It's especially hard when you are working in the type of environment that you work in where you're constantly taking care of other people and we don't know how to take care of ourselves. A lot of us, that's why we had this surgery in the first place, was because we didn't put ourselves first. We didn't take care of ourselves. And then we found ourselves overweight and unhealthy and with comorbidities or things like that. So it's definitely tough not to, for me, I'll be honest, I come home from a 12-hour shift, in the ER, and I want to binge eat almost after every shift because I'm like, what a day that is, and I can't imagine being a nurse. I see what you guys do, and I know like we don't say it enough there. I think sometimes, but I appreciate the hell out of you guys. Like Deb, what you do, I see you. Every single one of you is just like gray scrubs, just run around like chickens with their heads cut off and taking on more patients than they can handle. And so mad props and kudos to you. I couldn't imagine doing what you're doing and then trying to take care of myself at the same time for 12 hours a day. It's unreal. So hold on. I lost everybody.
No, we're here.
There.
Yeah, we're here.
Hello.
Oh,
okay.
I just see your eyes going back and forth.
I'm sorry. Oh man.
It's because you're here. Like she's over
anyways,
there. It's clear over there. Here, not so clear.
Yeah. I'm here, Rob.
Sorry.
You're
I was a
here.
bit west of that. I'm
There.
I'm up here.
Hi, Mary. Hi, Mary. Yeah, you're up there. Anyways, so mad props to you, Deb, for doing what you do. I don't know if you saw the title. What did that title say? Badass nurse, right? Or because you are. And but how do you? I know you said you go on walks and you try to work out. Do you have a regimented system that we can learn from? Or are you still working on that? How can we help you? Or what can we do? Or what do you do, and what's working for you?
Yeah, so I had to go to a very long, like 10 plus years of therapy before all the surgery and stuff. So I learned in therapy like calming techniques, breathing techniques, reading, writing, journaling, adult color booking. And I had a good 10 years of unlearning some really bad habits, even though I still struggled with the binge eating. That was the last thing I clung on to. So I had a really good therapist who works in Lansing as a child behavioral therapist, who accepted me at 19 years old. So yeah, I went to therapy. I owe my therapist my life. I had a place to vent and convey my feelings to and my problems, and he really did help me all those years to undo my bad habits.
Well, and I think that's such a good thing to point out, that self-punishment can live there when we think that all the reasons we do things are because of obvious things, like, oh, the reason we don't lose weight is because we're not exercising or eating, good food or X, Y, and Z. And like, yes, maybe those things those things can definitely contribute. But when we've had trauma in our life, or, things that we've needed to work through, all of that stuff ties in. And so that's one thing I'm just super passionate about, is telling people, or I guess educating in that way of like what it looks like to have self-compassion. And that doesn't mean, making excuses or not being accountable. But at least for me, the most progress I have seen in my life when it comes to physical health, mental health, all of the healths, has come from when I've approached myself with compassion and curiosity. And so I love that you brought that up, because it's true. It's not just learning habits like eating better, exercising, those things all contribute, but it's also digging into past stuff. And man, that's a lot of work. So kudos, that's hard stuff.
Well, thank you. I mean, therapy for me, I had state appointed therapy. So, and I've told Murph about this, but I had significant childhood trauma from the ages of 5 to 15. And that made me shut down as a teenager, as a kid. I lost all self-esteem, and I had no coping. Like, I would have been headed down the same path that my mom did if I didn't have to go to court and get appointed a therapist. And I mean, I was forced into it, but I'm so glad I was, because I didn't know I needed it, and I really did need it.
Mm-hmm. Well, and there's research out there. Well, first of all, like, thank you for sharing that. That's a big thing to share. And I appreciate it, because it's like normalizing that. It can, again, feel like a moral thing, like, oh, I did something wrong, or I didn't know. But it's like, when we can see ourselves like, man, we were 5, 10, 11 years old, or whatever the ages are, with that trauma. It's like, I think that's where a lot of self-compassion has come from with me. And if you look at research regarding like adverse childhood experiences, the trauma that's done to us as kiddos has major effects on our brains into adulthood. And so if we don't have help with healing and working through those things, it's really hard to like overcome them. And so again, just wanting to normalize that, because it's something that I don't think often gets talked about, but it makes a lot of sense. And there's research out there backing that.
Yeah, I think one of the big things that you had mentioned, Shay, you had talked about, curiosity, and when you're approaching yourself with compassion. I think through this whole journey, it's really opened my mind up to exploring a lot of the different things and the reasons why I was the way I was, and I am the way I am. And I think for me personally, it was very much about being honest with myself and wanting to understand, right? I think every day, maybe it's because of my age at this point too, I think that's a part of it, but I've become a lot more introspective about, why I am the way I am, why I had the challenges I had. And yeah, you're right. Like, I think you approach it with a lot of compassion, understanding that those were the decisions I made back then. Those were the reasons that, whatever it was that was affected me, right? But I think understanding how that has shaped me the way I am now allows me to disassociate myself from that specific reaction, because I'm not the same person as I was back then, right? And I think that was, for me, a big part of success in this journey, is really understanding who I was back then, why things affected me the way, and how it will not affect me now because I've changed, right?
It's empowering, right? I think sometimes
Huge.
people are afraid to approach themselves with compassion because it's like, oh no, that's how or this is what I've heard from people. This is how I got here in the first place, is I was too compassionate towards myself. But really what they're meaning when they say that is, I let myself go, or things like that. But that's really where we find empowerment. Just because we have self-compassion doesn't mean that we have to be victims of what we experienced or to see ourselves that way. It just gives us understanding so we can make choices in the future maybe differently. Or when those triggers come up, my husband, who's like the sweetest person ever, if he says something to me that triggers me, it's not his fault, that set off a trigger. It's past childhood trauma stuff that's bringing up. And so it's just so helpful to have that context and understanding of like, oh, because he said that, this is similar to something that happened to me in the past. And that's why I'm getting these body sensations of wanting to run away, or, just like not feeling good within myself. And there's so much empowerment in that, because it's like, oh, I understand why. And instead of getting mad at my husband for saying that, it's understanding where that comes from, leaning into support and going and being able to explain that to him of like, oh, when you said that, it reminded me of this. And, oh, I just had like a stress response and I felt really panicky for it. It's empowering to have that language.
So Deb, what's been like the biggest, I guess, learning of yourself through this whole thing? Because it's, you look back and you realize, holy crap, I've had quite a story, from everything I've gone through as a child and all the trauma, as you had mentioned, to, what you had to go through with going back to school and getting everything you needed to do, having the surgery and building this new life. What's your biggest takeaway about, not in general, but about yourself?
I mean, I learned that I had to take care of myself. Like, I never took care of myself as a kid, and unfortunately some of the adults around me didn't take care of me, so I had not a good, and it wasn't within my parents didn't take good care of me, they always did, but the people that I looked up to didn't take care of me, I didn't take care of me, and then I had this horrible childhood trauma thing happening. So what kind of self-respect did I have? I had none. And after I had the surgery, I remember the day before I had my surgery, I said, this is the first selfish thing that I'm doing for myself. And I'm like, never turning back. And I'm going to take my stomach out and run. Like, I'm never looking back on this part of my history. So I really had to be selfish. And I've struggled ever since to kind of take care of myself. And I take care of patients who don't want to be taken care of all day. and some of them do want to be taken care of, but I have to I had to unlearn my habits and take care of myself and feed myself good food. And then I had a kid, and then I had to feed this kid new food. And then, I had a surgery after having a kid. And my kid had to watch me go through this. And then, I have to take care of patients. So I'm starting to struggle a little bit again with like self-care and taking care of myself and finding time for that. Being like an ER nurse, like, you have no time. I mean, you have to meal prep if you want to be successful. You have to plan out your exercises for the 4 days off that you may have. And you have to be selfish, like, about yourself and your needs first. And it's not just like, oh, I'm going to only focus on myself, but I have to find time to take care of myself that's been a really big struggle this last year, especially graduating nursing school, where they expect you to, during nursing school, to drop everything at a hat, switch your clinical sites, literally pay to go take care of people. It was a struggle.
Yeah, one thing I was gonna.
Well, I've seen the meal prep. Oh, sorry.
Go ahead, Murph.
Yeah, I got lag. I got really bad lag here. No, I was just gonna mention Deb's. I think it was a honey. No, what was it? A honey mustard chicken that you had made. I noticed that you had meal prepped one day, and it looked and smelled amazing. And so that just reminded me I need to get that recipe from you. Go ahead, Shep. Sorry, I just had to.
Oh no, it's all good. With my day job, I get to work with a lot of clinical staff and helping them with their well-being. And so everything you're saying, Deb, I'm like, that's a lot of what I hear. It's like you all are just so busy and there's so much to do. And so just maybe some ideas for you or for others that are listening that I talk with our clinical staff about is finding those micro ways to, not a microwave, don't get it confused with that, but micro ways on how to practice self-care when you don't have time, right? And so it's like some of the things that I've heard that have worked well for other people is like just taking a second to take a deep breath, like, you know, or it could be while you're going from one place to another, taking a deep breath. If you're able to, if you can't look outside, even just looking down a hallway, something that's like out of your normal like depth perception, that's farther out, that actually communicates to the brain to go more into that, from that sympathetic stress response place to more of that parasympathetic rest and digest. So even if you can take 10 seconds, just looking down a hallway for like 10 seconds, that can help communicate that to your brain. There's little things that can be done while you're caring when you're in a high stress environment, but it does, I guess, take some planning and thinking about what works. But just some ideas I wanted to throw out there for others that might be in that same position, because it's tough.
Deb, I just want to ask you another question. So when you, on your last answer, you had mentioned, being selfish and having to, put yourself first. Do you often, like, I know a lot of us, we still, it's easy to fall back to that idea that, I do put others before myself, even though, we have done a lot of things. Do you find that, like, do you feel like you're being selfish, or do you feel like you just prioritize yourself more? Or do you ever find that you move backwards into that mindset? Because I know I do, I challenge myself, or I do find that I am challenged with that at times, putting everyone else before me, and sort of just being like, no, I can do it. I can do all this stuff for everyone. And then I have to stop and be like, no, I can't. I need to really prioritize myself. Like, do you find that you have that challenge at times?
I was just thinking about that. So when I'm at work, I'm like, I'll take care of everything for you. I'll do everything. And then when I get home, I'm like, sorry, kids, you're fending for the wolves. Like, you're on your own tonight. Like, I feel like such a, I don't know what the right word is, but it, like, especially on orientation and when I'm a new grad and I just graduated nursing school, like, I had no idea.
Yeah.
Like, what balance was. I still am struggling, and I'm just now getting back into like meal prepping and things, like, and it's been a good 6 months since I graduated. So, I mean, I am at work. Especially for the first few months I was there since November, I would take care of other people and like make sure they had their meals and make sure their teeth were brushed and make sure like they were turning in bed every 2 hours. And then when I get home, I would literally rot in my bed. Like, I just lay outside and rot. And not take care of myself and doom scroll.
Yeah.
But now I don't do that. I'm trying to not do that as much. And it really helps, like cutting down on the screen time. And then also, like, even if I don't want to prep my meals, like, I have to prep my meals.
Yeah.
I know what's going to happen. I'm going to end up eating a graham cracker and peanut butter out of the break room. And that's all I'm going to eat for the day.
Yeah.
So yeah, So again, it's one of those struggles I had to figure out the hard way. And then I was like, I'm sick of this. I don't want to eat these horrible meals anymore. And I just want to take care of myself again.
Yeah. I think you're going to definitely run into those things where you have to learn the hard way. We all do. That's sort of unfortunately the way we learn. One thing I found was very helpful for me, again, after learning the hard way, is to really establish some non-negotiables when you're at work, right? Like, regardless of what's happening, I'm taking care of everyone. I'm doing all these different things, but regardless of what's happening, I need to stop every X amount of minutes, hours, whatever, and have a snack or drink water or take a second to decompress. Doesn't matter, right? And realistically, and I totally understand where you're coming from. So I work for 3M. We used to be KCI Medical, and we do all like the VAC therapy. And so I was the guy who would do all the in-services for all the nurses in the middle of the night and every single thing. And I'd be like, call me any single time. I have clients, customers, patients calling me all the time. And I had to learn to say no, right? Like, as much as I wanted to be the best person for the job all the time, I needed to be the best Rob for myself, my wife, my kids. And that, unfortunately, for work meant that I needed to do whatever I needed to do to make sure I had the energy to be that when I got home, right? And so I find that for me, having specific non-negotiables, that you are going to do this every single hour, or you're going to do this, or you're going to make sure that you have enough energy that at the end of the day, I'm going to be able to apply enough for my kids, or whatever the case might be for everyone, right? That was always very helpful for me after I had the surgery, because it's different too. Our energy systems are different, right? I can't have a big meal and it'll last me forever. Nope, I have to eat small meals and then a little bit more and a little bit more and a little bit more, right? So I found that was very helpful for me.
And it can be scary to take that risk to stand up and say, like, hey, this is what my need is, especially at work. And one thing that has been cool is that's changed a lot for me at work too, since after having surgery, because it's things that I feel like aren't as negotiable for different reasons. But like, I've noticed that by me doing that, it's encouraged other people to do that for themselves too, which has been really cool, where it's like, it's scary at first, saying to, I don't know, whoever, or having to, in the middle of a meeting, put my camera on, or off so I can go use the restroom because my bladder, like I have to go to the bathroom more often now, things like that. And it's like, but by doing those things and taking the risk and being brave, I see that as being brave, because it's going against a, corporate culture, work culture that is not the typical way of doing things. It's allowed other people, I think, to say, well, she's doing it, like, and she hasn't gotten fired yet, so I might, maybe I can ask for my need, or, do it in that way. So I don't know, maybe by people seeing you bring your super kick-ass chicken recipe to work and taking care of your needs that way, maybe that'll inspire other people to do the same, or to take care of them, and it'll just be a ripple effect.
Never thought, my stupid little chicken recipe. No, but it's especially it's so hard in the ER, where like it's full of triggers for me. I mean, and I didn't think I was going to end up in the ER. I was a very anxious nursing student, afraid to pass Tylenol. And now I'm out here slinging fentanyl and, propofol and these crazy drugs that could kill people every second. And especially like the alcoholic patients, that's a big trigger for me, because it runs in my family. And the boundary setting with them, like I really have to set the boundaries with them.
Yeah.
Because they can get really loose. And I've learned that a lot. Like it's taken me about 4 months because in nursing school, they teach you to be basically, you're the sole of someone's shoe. Like that's how like unimportant you are. And you're going to carry that patient on your back. You're going to carry everything. And it's really not like that in the real nursing world. Like you have to compassionately care. But if someone can't care for themselves, they're abusing you, you need to set your boundaries and let them know. I'm not going to tolerate being talked to like that. I'm not going to sit in your room and talk to you for an hour and a half about why you can't get your pain med. You just can't have it right now. I can't do this with every patient. And if you want to talk to the doctor, I'll go grab them.
I think setting boundaries is a better way to look at it. I hate the idea of, you know, feeling like I'm being selfish when I know myself and I know what I need. You know, for me, like right now, I'm trying to take a break from social media because I know I can juggle. I can juggle, actually. I can juggle, but I can't. But I can't juggle 4 balls. I can only juggle 3 in reality. But like, you know, with so many things that we have going on with the podcast and my new position and my schedule. I mean, Rob and Shay and I spent like 2 hours on the phone just trying to figure out that schedule, how it rotates, that 6-week. I mean, it's just crazy, right? And then we've got a lot of other stuff going on here in the neighborhood and things, and it's not selfish, you know, just like having bariatric surgery is not the easy way out. Right. Like we've got these negative connotations on things when all we're trying to do is just take care of ourselves and survive and just, you know, and do it the way that we can do it. What works for Rob or Shay or Deb isn't going to work for Murph. You know what I mean? Like I've got to know my limits, and Rob and Shay, you know, we talked about that. You know, Shay was saying in our meeting that she hates doing the podcast, and she was like,
I hate Rob. Murph's okay. Screw you guys.
Yeah, I'm out.
Yeah. No, I'm just kidding. But you know what might work for some people that isn't going to work for others, because we're all just, you know, different, and we're all just trying to figure this out, and it takes time. It's a process, and got to trust the process. You know, so I think it's just important to just get rid of that whole selfish thought, or you know, telling ourselves that we're being selfish. And it's like, you know, we're not being selfish. We want to take care of other people. We want to take care of our kids. We want to take care of our spouse. We want to provide. We want to do these things, but we can't do these things on an empty tank of gas. We need to make sure that we're running, you know, all parts are moving properly and so on. So Deb,
sorry, I was just going to say another word that you could replace it with is being honest for the first time with myself, right? Like it's not being selfish, I'm just being honest with what my needs are, what my boundaries are, what my limitations are. And that feels a lot better than saying, oh, I'm being selfish, because I agree. I don't think that's really accurate. It's just I'm being honest with myself and other people for the first time.
And Murph, before you jump to your next question, I just want to, as I was listening to you, Deb, talk about, you know, your whole nursing school thing, and they'd tell you that you're this and you have to do this. The interesting thing is, what I was thinking about as you were saying that is, this is a conversation we have with ourselves. You have to do this. You have to do this. You have to. You're telling you in nursing school, you have to, you know, do all this stuff for these people. We've told ourselves we have to be this for everyone, and we need to do whatever they want us to do to make them happy and to fit in and all this stuff. I know this is the way I was when I was larger. And then at some point you're like, I can do what I can do, and I have to do what's going to be best for me and my family. And sort of that's the way it is, right? You can only do what you can do. Right.
Yeah.
And I think that
being honest and knowing your limits.
100%.
Yeah. And it's okay to say, like, I can't do that right now. You don't, you can't do everything, you know?
Yeah.
And
just a little tip too, again, if you're working on boundary setting, people's reactions are really telling if they're safe people. Safe people, and you can have people that you deeply love and still have those people be unsafe people. And so that's just another thing to keep in mind if you're practicing setting boundaries. If you get a negative reaction, or maybe an aggressive reaction in response to you setting boundaries and taking care of your needs, that's not reflective of you and your needs not, or that your needs are unreasonable. It's a reflection of, ooh, that's probably not a safe to practice this right now. and then maybe you need space, or maybe, you keep things more surface level with that person. But just something to consider with that, 'cause I know that's something that I've learned a lot in this last year.
Yeah, for sure. So my question, and maybe you already answered this, Deb, and sorry. So you started nursing school. I'm trying to get the timeline down. Did you already had your daughter? Was it before nursing
So
school?
July, July 2017, I had my daughter. I was in prerequisites. And then I started nursing school January 2021, and I graduated because it's the beginning of the 2021. I graduated this December 12th of 2022. So it sounds like only a year, but it was really 2 years.
Yeah.
And then I had surgery a couple of weeks before I started nursing school. I actually was supposed to start in the fall. I said, nope, I have a surgery planned, and I started January. So December 15th, January 9th, I started. So less than a month out.
Wow. Yeah, that's crazy. I wanted to go back to that timeline, because I was trying to think, were you pregnant after you had bariatric surgery or before bariatric surgery? And so just trying to think, because I mean, either way, like having a newborn and then having bariatric surgery, and we're right in the middle of COVID, mind you, and you're going into this position of like nobody wants to be in that position right now, but you really threw yourself into the fire there, but you're making it, you're doing it, and what a great example you're setting for your family and for your daughter, and that's that's what it's all about. And so super proud of you, and I think it's really cool, and I loved having our chats at work about this. I'm so glad to have you on the show, and this is just great. I love it.
Thank you.
Yeah. Do you guys have any more questions or anything for Deb?
One question I always think is kind of cool to ask, and if anybody in the comments has questions, feel free. But Deb, if you could look at yourself at whatever age stands out to you, like 4, 5, 6, 7, whatever, what would be the one thing you would tell her?
Mull this one over.
I know it's kind of
It'd probably be 5 years old. And I mean, I want to say it gets better. You're not buried. You're not going to be buried for the rest of your life. That's all I thought. When I was a 5-year-old, I thought my family was going to get taken away from me because I knew something was off, but I didn't know I was being abused by this person because I'm 5 and I didn't understand. So I want to tell myself, you're being abused and it does get better. It just takes a really long time for it to come out, and everything will be okay.
Love that.
And if you can share one,
I guess I do have one.
No, go ahead. Your delay is throwing me off so much. I keep waiting for you to move.
You read my.
Go for it. You go.
No.
Go. Yes.
You go.
Yes.
So I think, Rob, I think you're going to ask the same question that I was going to ask. So go ahead and do it, because I'm lagging here. Go ahead.
I'm going to change my question now, so Murph can ask you a question. So my question is, if you can share anything, your biggest takeaway from this whole experience, that's usually, actually, I'm going to change that. What's your biggest win? What's the biggest thing that you are proud of yourself about? And usually I would say, regarding bariatric surgery and everything, but overall, because you've had quite a story.
I'm glad that I had a good outcome from a child abuse story. like I'm glad that I did not become a statistic. Like that was the best thing. I didn't become an alcoholic. I didn't become a drug addict. I just became someone who struggled with food. I mean, if that's the worst thing that came out of this, like I think I did pretty good.
Yeah.
You know, I just bought a house. I just graduated school. I have a 6-year-old now.
Yeah.
So I think I didn't, not becoming a statistic and not falling down and failing was my best success.
And you know what? Like just hearing you say that, it's not even like, yeah, circumstances worked out. It sounds like you're saying that you know you didn't end up being that statistic. But here's the thing: you made that. You are not a statistic because of what you've done, the choices you've made, the decisions you've made. The statistics and circumstances didn't put you into nursing school. It didn't do your homework for you. It didn't do all that. You did, right? You raised your kid. You did all these different things. You bought the house. It didn't make the money for you. You did. So like, that's a success, man. You did all this stuff. Sure, everything worked out, and yeah, you weren't that statistic, but that's as a result of the stuff that you did. So that's, for me, a big congratulations for you. Murph, ask your question. That's not the same question that I just asked.
What is your favorite color?
Is that really your
You had
question?
both of my questions. I mean, yeah, no. That
I
was
named my daughter
question.
Violet. My favorite color is purple.
Oh, there you go.
There you go. Perfect. And my same question was, well, my question I think was more like an non-scale victory. Like, what's been your biggest?
Yeah.
Like, holy crap, I can't believe I've lost this weight. Look what I can do now. You know, like your biggest non-scale victory. What would you say, Deb?
Just feeling like comfortable, like no matter what. Like I used to think about my weight and I'm sweating and I'm panting and like literally it would ruin my mood. Like I couldn't even go about my day feeling happy or anything. I was so depressed about, you know, way my shirt fits and am I sweating too much or do I smell, you know, I just feel comfortable now. I don't have to worry about it.
That's big. That's so reassuring, huh? Just feeling comfortable in your own skin, not tugging on your shirt when you're doing things, right? Oh my God, that's so awesome. One other question, Deb. Sorry, I threw myself in here for a last question. Where can everyone find you? Like not your address or anything, just like in social media, there's people knocking on your door,
Right.
showing up at work,
Find you
right
on
here.
Security number.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, I'm not super big into social media, but Gebera, I basically switched my names around on Instagram.
Yeah.
Gebera Green, I switched the first and last letters around. That's my Instagram. I kind of fell off the bandwagon on that, and then I'm on Facebook. I'm on TikTok. I don't post a lot on TikTok. I posted one video, and it got quite a following. After I posted it, it was 6 months out from bariatric surgery, and that's Emergency Deb on TikTok. And then you can find me at your local ER in Lansing. I'm not going to tell you which one, but you can find me there most tomorrow. So.
Very cool. Well, it's been a pleasure to have you, Deb. Thank you for meeting with us. This is really cool. I've not had anybody on other than like my sister, I guess, or Phil. I guess we had Phil on. Somebody that I know. Like it's just really cool to see a familiar face and hang out with somebody that I've had a chance to talk with and build a friendship with, and it's just really cool. And so thanks for being here. I love your story, and I think it's super relatable. And I think a lot of people can benefit from hearing your story. And I shared that earlier in my stories on Instagram, is that it's been encouraging for me to talk to you. And that's one of the reasons Rob and I started this podcast, and then later brought in. was to because we wanted people to feel like they weren't alone. You know, you know, when I started my journey, I felt completely alone. I saw Dr. Obenwani today, actually, for my 2-year checkup, and I told him I'm dealing with some body dysmorphia stuff, and he said, "Oh, okay, so I'm going to schedule you for next year to come back for your 3-year checkup." And it was like, oh man, like I just, you know, I'm so glad and proud to be a part of this community where I met Rob, and he was the first one to kind of put me under his little skinny wing, and and take me in, and we had so many things in common, and that's just so powerful when you can talk to somebody who speaks your language and understands what you're going through, and then to be able to say, like, you're not alone and you're going to get through it, and you know, and here's me, and I'm like a super badass rock star, and I'm getting through it.
Yeah.
That's what you're saying. Own it, Deb. That's what you're
Yeah,
saying.
for sure. Because Deb, listen, your story will resonate with a lot of people in our community. There's a reason why we've gone through the things we've gone through, and the more time you spend in our community, the more you realize that people are going through the exact same thing. And so you sharing your story and the success of getting through all that, you're not a statistic, you've done all these amazing things, is what's really going to give people hope. So thank you so much for sharing that with us tonight, and thank you for sharing it with all of us. And again, everyone here who's on, thank you so much for joining us on another episode of the Waiting Table Podcast, where we're serving the weight loss community
1 pound at a time.
Oh man, that delay messed up.
Thanks, everybody.
What is going on with the delay?
If you dance, Deborah Green.
We usually dance
Yeah.
here. Yeah, have some fun. It just looks like we're all doing the robot. We're just like glitching.
It's
so
because
hard.
we're all having technical difficulties apparently tonight. Oh my
We need a
goodness.
robot to help us.
Yeah, so if you're a robot out there with IT skills and you would like to be our technical support person at the Waiting Table, what's our, I don't know what our email address is, but get a hold of us. Let us know, man.
OnlyFans, find us there.
Yeah, find us at demthighs at OnlyFans. Is that how it goes? Is that what OnlyFans does?
I don't know.
Yes,
You're
that was a test. I was testing you to see if you knew. You passed.
Just got it.
Okay, good.
Thanks, guys. Have a good night.
Bye.